Hey guys, it's Tana and welcome back to my channel and welcome to the very first day of our holiday and Christmas series for this year. Real quick, I'm going to show you some old things and some new things I just received from MFT that I purchased. We have this Happy Christmas die. I did not have this one last year, so I'm happy to have it. And I finally got my hands on the window die, the one that opens with those two big farmer's paned windows in the middle. And then we have the, what's this one called? It's a Birdie Brown set, Secret Santa. This thing is so adorable. And in fact, it's sold out on the MFT website, so I had to buy it through Ellen Hudson. And so I just made my whole order through there because it was easier. These sweet little penguins I had last year. Sweet Holiday Penguins. This was the very first My Favorite Things stamp set that I ever purchased last winter around this time. Now this little elf one I bought when I was down in Florida last year, and that one's called Santa's Elves. And this little die came free with it because I spent so much money when I was there, and that's called Christmas Tree Window. And then we have the Peace word die. Now I did have a couple other things for My Favorite Things that I forgot to pull out, but we're going to go ahead and get started with our very first Christmas card for this season. Now, as you guys know, I've already been making Christmas cards, so you're not going to see every card that I've made on videos, but I'm going to try my best to do as many videos as I can for you guys up until Christmas time. So I cut that window out of two different pieces of cardstock. One of them it was centered. On the other one, I wanted to make a space that was a little bit wider up at the top and a little bit lower down at the bottom. And I didn't know which one I was going to use at the time. So now we're just stamping out our characters. And I'm using full stick Post-it tape to mask them. And I kind of had to lay this out with the tree in the background and then the presents to kind of see what I wanted to go in front, because of course that has to be stamped first. And then you move your way back, stamping the things that are furthest away in your background. And that's how you get it, the perspective proper, is what I was looking for. So we're going to finish stamping these out, and then we're going to take all the masks off, and we're going to put a little line in here that will straight across the cardstock to determine where the wall and the floor meet, so our images aren't just floating in midair. I kind of wish, I don't know if I already said this, that I had a fireplace for this scene, but I do not, and I didn't feel like drawing one. So here we are drawing the line in there real quick. Then we're going to take off all the masks, and I'm going to put some Christmas music on for you guys to listen to while I do my coloring. Enjoy. So apparently I need to get better about timing my music. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. So now I'm sitting here trying to figure out how I'm going to get this stone looking embossing folder around the front of my card, because the stones have to go in a certain direction, and I actually ruined the first one that I tried. And then I decided, well, I'm just going to have to cut it in half, otherwise it's not going to work. So that's what I did. Cut it in half and then put each one in there. I kind of matched it up where it would meet in the middle. Now I'm just going to score the little lines on the outside window so that I can fold the farmer's panes open. And then I'm just going to score them lightly with my bone folder so that they will open and close easier when I'm making the card and when the card is finished. And I really like this window die. This is the very first window die that I own, and it's quickly becoming a favorite. I really like it. So now I'm just trying to measure out exactly where that window hole is going to go into the card base. And now we're going to do the same thing again with a piece of snowflake pattern paper for the inside of the card to cover up the acetate and everything else that we put between the window panes. So in order to do that and cut it in the proper spot, I just marked all the little tiny squares in the farmer panes and then lined it up on the pattern paper. And then I just die cut that out. And it worked pretty well. Everything lined up great. So there's a whole bunch of window pieces laying around my desk at this point. We've got window frames, window panes, the inside pieces, all kinds of stuff. Pattern paper, solid paper, gray, white. Now I'm going to use some art glitter glue and a piece of acetate, and I'm going to glue that on the inside of the card base on the open window. Excuse me if you can hear my heater kicking on. With this new microphone, you can hear everything in the background of my house a lot louder. So I have my little decorative heavy iron on that, letting that dry while I start working on the stone for the front of the card. So I went in and now I thought about this later on. I probably did that. You can use an embossing folder either way, but I would have rather that the stones popped out on the front of the card. But I ended up coloring it where the grout was popped out on the front of the card. That's okay. I worked with it. I used warm grays and cool grays, and I did most of the coloring off screen because you guys have already watched enough. I'm just going to show you on a couple stones here how I made my stones. I used warm gray 7 on all the grout, and then used lighter warm grays down from 7 for the gray the warm gray stones, and used C8, C6, C4, and C2 for all the lighter cool gray stones. And I just did with the darker colors some swipes, and then with the medium color, and then colored the entire thing over with the lightest color that I was using on that stone. And I really do like the way it turned out. And I am a big fan of stone-covered houses. I would love to have a house covered in stone someday, at least the front of it. So there's our two pieces, and we're going to get ready to glue them onto the front of our card base. And I just had to, because those pieces are so thin in the center, I put the glue on, started with the outer edge and the inside outer corner of the window hole. And then I just had to push down a little on those open edges because, of course, it just naturally spreads wider after you cut it apart. And then I did the same thing with the other side. And now our window's coming together nicely. Now, I did realize after I finished this video that the smarter thing for me to do probably would have been to make a side folding card, so that when you open the card, because I did so much decoration to the back side of the window, I was upset that it was upside down when you opened it. But I have a big thing about side folding cards opening when they're long ways like that. I don't like the way they look, and that's why I hadn't done it. I just didn't think about the inside at the time. So if I did this card again, I'd probably make it side folding so that when you prop the card open, it was a whole scene inside. So now I'm making my own curtains. I didn't want this to be just an open window with no curtains in it. So I just did a rough shape of 2 curtains and then cut 2 out each time so they would match up when I glued them together. And now I'm using B95, 93, and 91 to color some lines into those curtains and give them some shading. And I went with a color that would match my pattern paper on the inside. And some more swipes. That's all I did. Outline the edges, did some more swipes. And I'm going to show you on this one how I colored it all in. And then I glue them together so that each side of the card has a front-facing curtain. Unfortunately, I remembered with every piece of the window to make sure I could see the front of something from both sides of the window, except for the milk and cookies at the end, and I'll point that out to you guys. I don't know why out of everything I forgot that at the end, but I did end up adding, after the video was all said and done, I doubled up some. This is a valance here just to go at the top of the window. I did end up cutting out some more mirror images of the milk and cookies, and glued the little tiny pieces into the corners of the window pane on the front so that it looked like you could see it from both sides. So I'm just going to finish coloring this up, and then we're going to glue all the pieces into the inside of the window. Now, the footage got lost of me putting in the window frame on the inside of the card. I just cut the farmer's panes right out of that and just used the frame of the card itself because we didn't need those on both sides of the card. And then I just glued the outer edge and the top edge of each curtain so that you wouldn't see any glue from inside the window. And then I did the same thing with the valance after trimming off the excess on the curtains. I just did both sides and the very top edge. And I had already started to put glue on the valance when I realized that I had not colored both sides. So I had to wipe that off and wait for it to dry. And then I went and colored it, and we did that again. So now while I'm waiting for those panes to dry inside the front of the card, the window, we're going to mask everything back up on here so I don't make any mistakes, because we're going to color the floor and the walls on our main scene. And now here I am putting in the other wooden frame for the window. And I just bought this Nouveau Deluxe glue after being out of it for a long time because I just ran out of lawn fawn glue. And I'm already halfway through my glue tube already. That's how many Christmas cards I've been making, guys. Alright, so the only thing I didn't have a mask for was the tree, Santa and the tree. So we did a quick mask, only stamped out what I would need to cover what was actually in the image. And Fussy cut that out real quick, popped it on, and then we're going to just do some real quick basic coloring. I didn't do too much with the shading on the floor, and I didn't do any shading at all on the wall. So here I am coloring the other side of my valance really quick now that the glue is dry. Same colors, B95, B93, B91. And just glue that on real quick so it can have some time to dry. Pardon my head here. And we'll let that dry while we're doing our floor. So I just took B29 and B25, and I think there's even a lighter tan in there. I'll have to look back at my markers. And just did some swipes in the floor so it would kind of look like wood flooring, which is really hard to do when you have masks that have already been stuck to your card like 3 or 4 times and they want to keep peeling up. And then I went in with the second lightest color, and then I went in with the lightest color and just blended it all in. And for the wall itself, I just used BV03. I think it was BV03 or BV01. And just did that light violet. And now we're going to stamp out our sentiment. And I don't even remember which one I used. Have yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And I separated it. I kind of used a piece of cardstock to stamp it and not get ink on certain parts of the sentiment, because I really didn't want to cut it up, but it wasn't going to fit on that image the way it was. It was too long. So now we're just going to use some more Nouveau Deluxe glue, and we're going to adhere that to the inside of our card. And see how the window's upside down now? I played around with putting some stockings hanging off the front of the window on the outside, but I didn't like how it looked, so we didn't use those. But I did want Santa to have his milk and cookies. So there they are, guys. Then my very first card for the holiday series using some supplies from MFT. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification button because there are 2 giveaways coming out this month. I forgot about last month's giveaway. So stick around for those. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye for now.